saw The Last Jedi on Saturday, which was 3 days before I'm recording this video, and overall I liked it. I might be seeing it again soon because I saw it in IMAX, so that might have made it seem better to me. But no, overall I think it's a solid film. I think it's a good addition to the franchise, and it's definitely different because a lot of people complain that Star Wars isn't different anymore. The Force Awakens was very similar to A New Hope. It shredded the plot of it. It reused a lot of things, and even when I saw it, and I still think The Force Awakens is a great film, I just thought, like, when there was a lot of references, I just thought it was very ham-fisted, especially with Rogue One. I think Rogue One actually was a little bit worse when it comes to fan service, like the "You'll Be Dead" guy with the guy who Obi-Wan cuts the arm off of. C-3PO and R2-D2 were just sort of thrown in there. They were as well for The Force Awakens. It seemed a little off-putting seeing them there. But with Rogue One, it was just very, they're here, let's just show them, check the box. But no, The Last Jedi is great overall. If you probably couldn't tell by the title and the description, there are spoilers, so if you haven't seen the film yet, don't watch this video until you do. Okay, so the opening shot is fantastic. I really think it's good. It was a different type of shot. It was a zoom going through all these spiraling ships, and I thought it was great. I did not like the banter between Hux and Poe. It honestly felt like a Verizon commercial. Like, can you hear me? I know that was part of Poe's personality, him messing with Hux, but no, overall, I thought it was a little bit forced, and I was honestly waiting for it to end when I saw it in the theaters. But the opening scene, besides that, is very solid. The space battle is pretty great. It shows that Poe really is the best pilot in the Resistance, as they've sort of alluded to, and we did see a couple instances, like when he blew up Starkiller Base, or when he was just going around on during the fight at Maz's castle in The Force Awakens. And Jeremy Johns brought this up, and I think it's a good point. When the payload and all those bombs were being dropped on the Dreadnought, why did they fall the way they did? Because there have been bombers and stuff in Star Wars before, but it's always been that they've sort of been shot at their target and not dropped. But it just seemed that they dropped in a very gravity-ish way. I didn't notice it when I was watching the film because, again, it was such a great scene. But no, now that I think about it, it is a valid argument. I like the character of Admiral Holdo. I wish we saw a little bit more of her in the first film, because she dies only like about an hour and a half after we see her. But the thing I liked a lot about her is you could never really get a read on her. Sometimes she was an asshole. Sometimes you think she was doing it for the rebellion. Sometimes I personally thought that she was like some sort of double agent or something working for the First Order, because of how much disrespect she was giving to Poe and a lot of the rest of the Resistance. So, the humor, like I said with the Verizon commercial scene, was very ham-fisted. It's like Star Wars has always had humor. In every episode there's been some sort of joke. Even in like the cartoons and stuff, there's always been some sort of quick joke or anything, just to keep that lighthearted tone that Star Wars has always had. But no, it seemed that every scene had to have some sort of joke or one-liner. And honestly, I felt like certain scenes were over-explained. Like there was just a quick line of dialogue, which I think could have been told better with just a look or some sort of visual storytelling. No, I felt like the humor was there, was a bit more forced, because especially in the original trilogy, the humor was just very natural. And that was actually a complaint I have with The Force Awakens, was the humor, and it's worse here. There are some jokes that are hits, but a whole lot of them were misses. Now, the biggest elephant in the room, I'd say, and everyone is mixed on this, is the Leia space scene. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or haven't seen the movie, or don't care enough to have the movie ruined for you, there's a scene where Kylo Ren is in his TIE silencer. Yes, the TIE silencer. And he has a clear shot for Leia, and he has a hesitance of whether he wants to blast her or not. And his two escort ships, or whatever you like to call them, come in and blast it, and he just sort of snaps out of it. In that scene, Admiral Akbar dies, which I thought was very stupid. This is the character that has been in 3 Star Wars movies now, including this one, and you just sort of kill him off with a bunch of other extra people. He's a meme. He's a fan favorite. No, I didn't like that at all. So then the scene that which everyone's talking about, the Leia space scene, Leia uses the Force to come back into the ship. And she basically puts her hand out and drags herself back in like a tow cable, basically. Now, the first complaint I have with this scene is that the door she goes through isn't an airlock. Maybe it was, I can't exactly remember, but they don't usually have airlocks for just normal bridges. And everyone else was unfazed by this on the ship, if there wasn't an airlock. It's a little bit nitpicky, but no, it was a little annoying to watch. But I'm still not completely sure how I feel about it, because the thing I always liked about Leia's Force powers is that she never really used them to the extent of Luke. She wasn't a Jedi. She was Force sensitive. She used it more for sensing disturbances in the Force, like when Han Solo died and she almost collapses. Things like that. And I thought that was always great. She was able to figure out things about her family through the Force. But this, I felt, was just very, I don't know. And even if she was a full Jedi, I'm not sure how I would still feel about it. So yeah, I'm pretty mixed on it right now. The effects are alright. They're not as good as The Force Awakens. I was watching Revenge of the Sith the other day, and there are certain scenes, like the opening scene of that, which look better than certain scenes in this. There are certain scenes in this which I think look awesome. For instance, the Millennium Falcon dogfight on Crate, I think looked awesome in the Crystal Cave, and the opening scene again looked good. So all around, it's a fine movie, and it doesn't look as bad as anything like Spider-Man Homecoming. I mean, I like Spider-Man Homecoming, but I thought the effects weren't that great in it. But no, there were definitely scenes that were fake looking. Kylo Ren is a much better character in this one. I thought he was pretty good in The Force Awakens. You definitely saw his arc in that one. He was more toying with whether or not he wanted to go to the light side or not in that one. This one, he's having genuine conflicting views, just like whether or not he should be on the dark side or the light side. He definitely looks more dirty, more distressed. It looks like he has moles and acne on his face. He has that scar, which I don't care at all that they moved. It doesn't bother me at all. No, he's definitely a better character in this one. His internal conflict is clear as day, and I like it a lot. Rey is a better character. She's basically the same, except more confident. I felt like she knew a little bit too much about what she was talking about. Like, I get that Jedi are just sort of a myth, and she's probably studied them before. I was just like, hey, what's that? More of an interest. But it seems she knew a lot about their order and things like that. She's definitely she's not the same person at the end of the film as she is at the beginning. She definitely seems like she's learned a lot, and she's more confident than we've seen her so far. I don't like the dynamic between Finn and Rose. Rose is not a great character. The actress who played her, she was fine, I guess, but overall, no. it seemed very forced. And honestly, the whole scene with them together, the casino scene, is, in my opinion, the worst scene of the whole movie. I don't want to go and say like it's the worst scene of the whole saga, but no, it's definitely the worst scene of the whole movie because, like everyone said, it slows down the pace of the movie, and it does. But for me, the thing that annoys me the most is it doesn't look Star Warsy at all. It literally looks like a real casino, except instead of using paper money, they use coins. No, they could have easily tweaked the script a little bit and cut this whole scene out. Like, I get they were trying to do the whole social commentary with like war profiteering and everything, but no, honestly, it just was a distraction from the entire plot. And I was talking about this with a friend. The entire thing of them not being able to like complete their mission, which is part of the plot, I didn't mind that much. I mean, because that not everything goes according to plan. Just the problem is they could have really cut that scene down. And also another thing I noticed is that nobody really talks with alien languages anymore. Like the owner of the casino who was complaining about them parking on the beach, he talked like a cowboy. He had this raspy Western voice. I when I was watching the film, I thought it would have been cooler if he talked in like an alien type language. The Obi-Wan scene I liked. They could have done it much worse than they did. But I was thinking to myself, it would have been a little better if they had Obi-Wan instead. I know Alec Guinness is no longer with us, and it would have been harder for the VFX people. But, I mean, they were able to do it with Grand Moff Tarkin. So, no, I definitely think from a story perspective, it would have been a little better if it was Obi-Wan. That's just my opinion. I mean, I'm fine with the scene, but yeah. They toned down the fan service. There's a lot less references, and the ones that are just more natural. They aren't as blunt as they are in The Force Awakens, like Finn picking up the training ball or turning on the board game or anything like that. The hyperspace scene was fantastic. When Holdo takes the ship and self-sacrifices himself by slicing Snoke's ship in half. I thought that was fantastic. Probably one of the best, if not the best, scene of the movie. It's definitely being creative. Rian Johnson being creative with the script, and no, I absolutely loved it. But I thought to myself, wouldn't it be better if Admiral Akbar and/or Leia was there too? I mean, because they need to kill off Leia, and that would have been a great way. Because if they were to kill off Leia with the bridge scene, and that would have just been the end of it, I felt like that would be a bit unsatisfying. Because when I did originally think she died in the bridge scene, I was a bit unsatisfied. I'm like, oh, well, I guess that's how they're going to kill her. But no, this would have been a much more satisfying way. I don't know. I'm just a little bit nagged by the fact that that's the way they chose to kill Admiral Akbar, and how we've met this character, Holdo, once, and she just sacrifices herself. We never really got a chance to really connect with her, because she was either acting manipulative or just being an asshole. The throne room scene was fantastic. I think that Snoke's death was fine, but I wish we knew more about him. I get they were trying to add mystery to the character, but no, it was just, overall, it was just, his lines of dialogue I didn't really like when Kylo was about to kill Rey, and he's like, he turns the lightsaber to his foe. That could have been cut completely. That just goes into my point of how there was a bit too much expository dialogue. And also when Snoke was dead on the floor and his tongue was sticking out, there was actually people laughing in my theater. My friend sitting next to me was laughing. But no, his death overall was fine. It was great to see Kylo stand up to himself in that way, because he was honestly acting like he was being treated like a bitch by people like Hux and especially Snoke. I liked the guards. Like, I get they were trying to have them look very samurai-ish, but they looked a bit too samurai-ish. Not to say that they didn't look cool, but no. Every part of that throne room scene I thought was great. During the fight, I like that they're coming up with weapons like the cattle prod from The Force Awakens and this that can combat the lightsaber. Not to say that it diminishes the power of the lightsaber, but it's cool to see that if you have a lightsaber, you're not just automatically going to win, which in a lot of ways, unless you're lightsaber battling, that's been the way. I'm not completely convinced about what Kylo said about Rey's parents. I feel like there's going to be a little bit more to it because J.J. Abrams left a lot of ambiguity in The Force Awakens, and barely any of that was answered. I still want to know where the First Order came from. I still want to know where the lightsaber came from. And I thought it was great how they destroyed the lightsaber in the way they did. This has been a relic of 6 movies so far, including this one, and they just destroyed it. No, I liked the way they did it. It wasn't just like if they got rid of it the way Luke did at the beginning, that would have been stupid. But no, they destroyed it because it was being fought over by the light side and the dark side. The thing about Rey's arc and her like being tempted by the dark side isn't really that great because it's the same sort of thing with Luke in Return of the Jedi. They keep saying like you should turn to the dark side, but he never really had any reason to. So with Rey, it was more of just a vague threat of you should come to the dark side. There's nothing left. And Kylo, he's like, hey, we should just stop all of this, the light side and the dark side. But Rey still sees the good in the light side and the dark side. But that would have worked a little bit better if we saw any sort of real, genuine dark side qualities to Rey, like how we saw with Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. I liked during the Battle of Crate that Hux was taking orders from Kylo. Because Kylo, you can tell, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's clearly just sort of acting on instinct. He isn't under anybody, but he isn't taking any, like, smart orders from anybody. No, I thought that was a good dynamic, how Hux has been full of himself, and Ren just comes in and is like, I'm taking control now because a lot of our fleet is wiped out, a lot of our commanders is gone, and now our supreme leader is gone. Phasma's going to come back. I'm calling that right now. You can't just establish that her armor is blaster proof and have her fall down a pit and not see her completely die and she's not going to come back, because they alluded to the fact that she died in The Force Awakens. But if she were to die, if that was the last we saw of her, I'm glad it was Finn of all people to kill her. They could have easily had her just blow up on a ship, but no. You could tell that Finn was just fed up with her and hated her. And I thought that was a good dynamic. The love triangle, again, is stupid. I don't like the character of Rose. The entire film could have been completely fine without her. And the scene where she becomes unconscious when she crashes into Finn's ship to save her, she didn't sound like she was in pain at all. She just sounded tired. And she gives him that little half-assed kiss, like she's kissing a cat or something. I enjoyed the scene. It was a small scene, but I enjoyed the scene of R2 and Luke. It was like Luke seeing his dog again. It was nice to see. It was a small scene, but it was nice. I like the planet of Crate. It looks like a Hoth-type planet, but it's actually a mineral planet coated with salt. I'm not sure if I like the scene where the Resistance fighter eats some of the salt and spits it out and goes salt. That was just a way to tell the audience that it was salt. Like, I don't know, it just felt a bit ham-fisted. I liked the idea of the rebels using any like means that they had available to them to fight the First Order. Like, they just found these destroyed pieces of ships, and they thought it was all right to use, even though most of them crashed at the end and they were falling apart. No, I like that idea. I really liked the fact that when the Falcon came in and started blowing up a lot of TIE fighters, Kylo just goes, blow that piece of junk out of the sky. Like, the mere sight of the Falcon just sends him into rage. I really liked that. And also, I enjoyed the scene where he tried to blow up Luke, and because what else is he going to do? Just have his one AT-AT fire at it? Or whatever they're called. I'm just going to call them AT-ATs. No, I like that he just thought, like, he said, I want every one of them to fire on that man. And I even said, like, right before Luke brushes off his shoulder, like, yeah, he just brushes off his shoulder, and he did. Which, again, is another part of humor. I didn't mind it a whole lot, but it was still a little forced humor. I liked the entire scene of Luke and Kylo fighting. I thought that was cool that he was just buying time for them. And he says, see you around, kid, because he's taunting him. Luke is taunting him. And I think that Luke's death was very appropriate. This isn't the last we're going to see of Luke. He's going to come back as a Force ghost in Episode 9, The Search for More Money. But no, it was definitely more of just he was trying to buy time for the rebels to escape. Porgs are just, they're meant to sell toys. They're meant for kids to buy them at Build-A-Bear Workshop or find them in a stocking. No, I don't hate porgs, but it was just so obvious. They had those giant Disney eyes. They honestly looked like Furbies. I like that at the end, they're all on the Millennium Falcon, and it's just a handful of them. I didn't like when Finn was taking care of Rose, that Rey looks over and just gives that little half smile. It's not a good dynamic. And I did like that little thing where Poe and Rey met. I forget exactly what they said, but one of them was like, yeah, I know who you are. I like that because it just sort of tells the audience, oh yeah, they haven't met before. And I think it's cool how the entire resistance has been just reduced to this one ship of people. I feel like they're probably going to recruit help from all across the galaxy, which I think is the reason why that last scene exists, which I don't like. I don't like the last scene. They could have easily cut it out and it wouldn't have affected the film at all. They could have ended the film 30 seconds earlier and it would have been a better film. No, I didn't like the ending with the kids at all. I think they should have just ended it on the Falcon. But yeah, those are my thoughts on The Last Jedi. If you've seen it, tell me what you think. If you haven't seen it and you're a Star Wars fan, I do encourage you to see it and formulate your own opinion. Try to avoid spoilers. It wasn't that hard for me, so it won't be that hard for you. Yeah, I give the film an 8 out of 10.